Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today for our Nexo ID series webinar presented by TC Furlong, Inc. Before we jump right in, just want to do some quick introductions and some housekeeping. My name's Aaron Posega. I'm of TC Furlong's sales and marketing team. If you're unfamiliar with our company, I want to give you just a brief introduction to who we are and what we do. TC Furlong, Inc. is a full-service live sound company based in the Chicago area. We have a client base here in Chicagoland and across the Midwest and all across the United States. Our clients include houses of worship, theaters and performing arts centers, educational institutions, corporate clients, and a whole bunch of others. So we really cover the full spectrum. Our company is organized into 4 broad departments that all collaborate very closely together to service our clients. Those include equipment rentals, equipment sales, live event production, and a whole range of services, including loudspeaker system design, system tuning, repairs, RF coordination, and a whole lot more. So if you'd like to learn more about our company, I would encourage you to check out our website. That's tcfurlong.com. There's a lot of great resources there, including a rental inventory guide, our sales lines, and our blog, which has a lot of great educational content, product features, how-tos, and a lot of fun stuff there. You can also follow us on social media. All of the usual suspects, just search for TC Furlong Inc. and you'll be able to find us. That's a great way to keep up with everything that we're doing. And we're also on YouTube, where we host all of our recorded webinars, which is going to include this one. We are recording the webinar today. That recording will be available on our YouTube channel in the coming days. So if you missed anything today, want to come back and review anything, or if like share anything here with your colleagues or other people in your organization, we definitely encourage you to do that. So keep an eye out. We will be sending that video link out to everyone who registered for today's webinar. We do like our webinars to be as interactive as possible. So I encourage you to submit questions as we go along. We'll have a few minutes at the end dedicated for Q&A, but really please don't hesitate to submit those questions at any time throughout the webinar. It'll help us sort of drive our discussion and get you the most relevant for you. So to submit those questions, make sure you're using the Q&A function within Zoom. Depending on the platform you're watching on, that'll be somewhere near the bottom of the screen. It's a button you can click and type your questions in. If you're typing them into the chat, we can't necessarily monitor that. So the best way is to make sure you're using that Q&A function. With that, I want to introduce our guests joining us here today. So joining us on behalf of Nexo, first off, we have David Avinas. David is the district manager for Nexo and for Yamaha Pro Audio in our area. And we've the field sales engineer for House of Worship and installation with Nexo and Yamaha Commercial Audio. So big thanks to both of you for taking the time and joining us here.
Thanks, Aaron. We're glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Always great to have you guys. With that, I think that's the way. So David, I think we're going to throw it to you first to talk us through Nexo, the company as a whole, and give us an overview of the ID series.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead here, guys, and share my screen. Give me just 1 second. All right, so we should be able to see my screen now. So I think, hold on, my computer's freaking out. There we go. All right, so yeah, so today we're going to be covering, there we go. All right, so we're going to be covering everything really Nexo. So to kind of, I think, get into it, you know, our best bet here, I think, is to kind of start with some history, right? So who is Nexo? So Nexo is a French-based company. Owned wholly by Yamaha. So back in 2008, Yamaha actually purchased Nexo as really an extension of what we had to offer as a pro audio manufacturer, right? So, Nexo being a boutique manufacturer of high output speakers, what Yamaha saw in the value there was being able to really bring forth pioneering technology, innovative speakers and high output design. So like I said, Yamaha did purchase Nexo in 2008, and really what that was designed to do was to give a holistic approach to pro audio design, system design, right? Yamaha, having been in the pro audio world for close to 34 years, was really known as a world-class industry leader in mixing consoles, but was kind of missing that high-end speaker portfolio. And that's where Nexo really kind of filled that hole. Nexo is very, very big overseas in the European market, and it is something that is catching on fast here in the States. So what does Nexo really stand for, right? So you always hear thinking outside of the box. So Nexo kind of takes that, and what we like to say is we like to think inside the box, right? So our mission from a Nexo standpoint is R&D. How do we innovate to create loudspeaker solutions that are the best that this the best that the world can have? So what they've done is innovate via patents and putting forth technology into speakers that really produce the highest output capable on maybe not the biggest format, right? So we're really known, a lot of manufacturers are known for three-way boxes, which we do have solutions that really run the gamut within the Nexo lineup. But using things like our hyperbolic reflector waveguide, our phase directivity device, and really configurable directivity is how Yamaha has been able to pull together a lineup of speakers that is, I think, really unique and extremely applicable across a gamut of applications. And again, coming down to quality and certifications, being based in France, the French culture is very based around quality, and how we get there is obviously through that R&D process I just talked about, but also certifications, right? Being IP rated, having ISO certification and CE certifications. Which give our customers the ease of mind knowing that these are quality products that are going to last a long time and meet the requirements that you need for your install. Something else that I think is really great that Nexo has to offer too is custom solutions. Audio is not always known for wanting to have a high visual impact, right? So being able to blend speakers into spaces is something that we can do, whether that's into steel or into ceilings or walls, things like that. Being able to match those colors. Nexo can do really any RAL color out there. So obviously this is going to be a little bit longer of a lead time, but this is something that I think is a really cool offering from Nexo. And I think something we're going to spend quite a bit of time on today. So you'll see the dedicated support side. So obviously we do work through dealers like TC Furlong, and they are a great dealer of our product. But we also work hand in hand with them, and also end users before, during, and after that sale, right? So making sure that we're helping you through system design, training. Obviously being there as an arm of support during installation, and making sure that the application is right and we're getting the best output from the system capable. And then of course, after sale support, right? That is extremely important, knowing that if you do have a problem, that you have a route to get to or get to someone that can help support you if there is a problem and get that problem solved. And kind of touching again here on system design. So, Wes is part of what is called our field sales engineering team. So that team is here to support dealers and end users to come up with the best solution, right? And we do that via our NS1 software. our NS1 software is really what allows us to see how things are going to work inside of a space within our lineup. And a really cool caveat to this is you can, is actually coming here in the next few months, you'll be able to model every Yamaha and Nexo speaker within NS1. So you'll be able to mix and match systems and build even more price aware and effective systems across the entirety of our lineup. So, and you will see a little bit more of this software here as we get into the rest of the presentation today. So I thought it was really important to touch base on, Yamaha, when they purchased Nexo, making sure that, they were a French-based company that did a lot of work overseas and has really started to take off here in the States in the last 5 to 7 years. So, they are extremely involved in a lot of really large facilities, and, Yamaha and Nexo have products that are very applicable across so many different types of applications, and a lot that, Aaron kind of talked about at the beginning of the webinar, right? Houses of worship, obviously being one of those, right? The variety in our speaker lineup, being able to do those custom type configurations gives churches the freedom and the flexibility to have high output systems, be cost aware, and still have systems that meet the needs of what the church wants, right? If that's high SPL and thump on the low end, we can help you do that. If it's a more speech reinforcement system, we can help you do that too. So, and obviously theaters, somewhat similar to the house of worship market, the same thing, right? Being able to apply all of our product lines, whether that's line array or our P Plus series, which is a coaxial point source box. And then depending on the size of the theater, or, even like a lecture hall would be a great application here of, the ID series. So. And of course, live events, right? We're so grateful that, these are starting to come back after what was a tumultuous 2020 for so many, right? Nexo has full-blown large format line arrays that are used in live event touring applications all over the world. And we have a rental partner network here in the States as well. So. Bars and restaurants. So, obviously something we're going to look at today, like everybody knows, we're here to really see and dig into the ID series, but, this compact point source, really being able to elevate and almost hide discreetly this, this audio element, right? If you want that high-end audio playback, but you don't necessarily want it to be in your face, or, the customer wants it to be a little more hidden. Corporate public spaces, again, another one, whether that's, an art installation or an airport, looking at, large headquarters up there in the corner, you see the Audi headquarter in Germany. So again, this kind of just shows the depth of the product that, Nexo does have to offer. And then obviously we'd be remiss if we didn't show really some of the large format stuff that Nexo is capable of. Looking down the right-hand side, there are 4 stadiums that are pretty high-profile stadiums all across the world. So, this is something that, Nexo and Yamaha can help our dealers with. And loudspeaker solutions, right? Looking at this as a whole. So we talked about output and scalability. So this is kind of a view of what the entirety of the Nexo lineup looks like. We're going to talk and really focus in on the far left-hand side of this slide today. And this is going to be that high output compact style of speaker. So ID series, there are quite a few things that we're going to cover, but I do want to go ahead and actually hop over to a video here. So,
over the past 42 years, Nexo has been pioneering and patenting groundbreaking developments in both point source and line array systems. Since 2015, the ID series has been a highly sought-after option for compact, high-output, point source applications. With sleek design and varying coverage patterns, the ID series is the premier option for even the most difficult applications. Nexo now looks to build on the ID series technology with the addition of the ID84 and the IDS312 companion sub. Setting a new standard in visual design, ease of installation, and versatility of deployment, the ID84 supercharges the concept of the column loudspeaker, expanding its role beyond traditional voice reproduction into powerful, high-quality music applications. The ID84 uses 8 powerful, latest generation 4-inch low-frequency neodymium drivers, the same ones used in the ID24. Instead of a traditional compression driver, it houses an array of 8 1-inch dome tweeters that significantly lowers high-frequency distortion, supplies pristine top-end clarity, and allows for impressive control. A switch on the rear of the cabinet instantly changes the high-frequency vertical dispersion from broad to narrow. The design of the ID84 also allows 2 modules to be joined with the top cabinet inverted, keeping the high-frequency arrays close coupled for uncompromised high-frequency performance. If greater low-frequency control is needed, an ID84L can be added to extend the line length and increase the directivity to a full cardioid pattern. When the application requires even more impressive full-frequency support, the pristine high-frequency quality of the ID84 can be paired with the IDS312 for maximum output. 3 12-inch high-excursion neodymium drivers in a bass reflex enclosure design pack a powerful punch while maintaining a compact form factor. A unique Quick Connect system ensures reliable mechanical and electrical connection between the IDS312 and the ID84. The entire array can be connected by a single 4-core cable. Like the rest of the ID series, these new cabinets are available in both touring and install versions. The touring sports an aluminum body and front Magnellus grille with 2 NL4 connectors at the back. The installation version keeps the same acoustic body design, but comes with a cloth-covered grille. A cable gland and captive 2-core cables gives it an IP54 rating. Both versions are available in black, white, or any RAL color. With the versatility of mounting options and shared sonic signature, ID series speakers create thrilling and immersive sonic experiences in the most complex acoustic environments. The ID84 is a perfect addition for a wide range of fixed installations or mobile applications.
All right, so I'm going to actually hop back over to the presentation here real quick. But so you guys obviously got a little bit of a sneak peek there into what is the newest edition of the ID series lineup. Sorry, here trying to get back to, here we go. So the ID84. So the ID series has been out for quite some time. It actually launched with the ID24, but we'll jump through the lineup here real quick. So obviously what you guys just saw, which was the majority of the focus of that video, is the ID84. So this is the introduction of the first column speaker that Nexo has ever produced. So really what they wanted to do with this was push beyond the traditional voice reproduction application, which is where most people use column speakers, and put forth a powerful music application or music ability, music playback ability into column arrays. So in this lineup, like you saw, there will be 3 different versions of it. So there's an install and a touring. The big differences there are obviously going to be the cable gland versus the NO4 cable. And there is going to be a difference in the cloth cover. So you can see the ID84 is going to have that cloth cover versus a Magnellus grille on the touring version. And then you do have the ID84L, which is just going to be that low extension unit. These guys are Yeah, my screen is freaking out. Sorry about that. These guys are 135 dB peak. They are extremely high output and have, a full spectrum playback capability. One of the great things about this, and something you're going to see a trend in the ID series lineup, is switchable or really control of your high frequency dispersion. So directivity and control of directivity is very, very important to Nexo, and you will see that in the entirety of this lineup, including the addition, into our full blown line arrays and coaxial point source with other options for being able to choose form patterns and that fit your type of application correctly. So. And you guys can see, obviously, as you build upon line length here, right? So it did cover this inside of the video. As you add more to this column line length, the more vertical dispersion you're going to get top to bottom. So that is something that's really great about these ID84 speakers. Every one of the ID speakers does have a companion sub. So with the ID84, it is going to be the IDS 312. This is going to be a 3x12 subwoofer, goes down to 40 hertz. Again, can be used in install applications or in a mobile application. So for companies that are looking at a sleek option but want that high fidelity playback, being able to set one of those ID84s on top of this sub is a great mobile application. The ID24. So this is going to be the dual driver variation. This is what originally launched with the ID series lineup several years back. So there is, again, a touring and an install version. These are going to be twin 4-inch drivers, and they're going to be in a V formation. The big differences here between the install and touring version is obviously going to be the grill covering, again, that's consistent with the ID84. And then you're also going to have a captive cable gland versus an NL4 cable. But 126 dB peak on these, extremely high output. But one of the great features of these is there is a user rotatable horn in these speakers. That's both in the install and touring version. So you can see there's 4 different models available: a 60x60, 90x40, 120x40, and 120x60. And where that arrow is pointing at the back of the speaker, you actually would push that knob in, and you would turn it, and then you have easily rotated the horn for other applications, whether that's horizontal or vertical. So these are easily, you can easily apply these in the field. The ID sub lineup, there are 3 different subwoofers. So the IDS 108, the IDS 110, and the IDS 210. These are all very low profile subwoofers, great for discrete applications, right? Being able to put these into walls, staircases, under furniture, mount them easily within ceilings, that will allow for this stuff to be hidden, but have that low frequency extension on the bottom end. So obviously you'll see the IDS 108 is an 8-inch sub, the other are 10-inch subs. One is a 1x and the other is a 2x. And then the ID14, the last speaker here in the lineup. So this is going to be, these are about a 5-inch by 5-inch cube. These guys are super small, 4-inch coaxial speaker, 116 dB peak. They are available again in touring and installation versions, and the installation version does have an IP55 certification. They're available in 100 by 100 or 90 by 140. So again, being able to apply these into the specific applications that you need. So there is the rundown on the lineup of speakers. Wes, I want to go ahead and throw to you so we can start, I think, showing some real world application with these. And obviously, as we go along, I'm sure there's some questions that'll come up and we can probably touch base on some of those. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks, David. Hey, everybody. My name is Wes Hershberger. As you heard before, Apologize for the raspy voice today. Getting over a little bit of a throat cold, but sucking down some throat coat and some water. So hopefully we can get through this without losing too much of my voice. But yeah, what we want to do in this part of the webinar is take a look at just a couple of use case application scenarios. So what we're looking at now is, and you heard David mention before, is Nexo's NS1 software, which I personally spend a lot of time in. Our entire team of field sales engineers, as well as our district managers, are trained and equipped to use the NS1 software. And we're very excited for where Nexo and Yamaha are developing the software to be able to not only have our entire Nexo lineup you see over here on the right of speakers, but also soon to include all of our Yamaha speakers, as well as a full immersive rendering modeling engine using Yamaha's new AFC image and AFC enhance immersive audio technologies. So little plug there, keep an eye out for that update coming out hopefully later this fall. We'll see that new version of NS1, which is going to really open the world to a lot more modeling capabilities. So excited for that there. If you haven't spent time in NS1 before, it is Nexo's proprietary software for direct SPL coverage modeling with all of Nexo's speakers. And what we'll be looking at today is a couple different applications using the Nexo ID series. Starting with here, I put together a quick model of what might be a small ballroom scenario, and you're going to see the speakers here. One thing to note, I am using one of the new MacBooks that is using the M1 chip, and it throws a couple little extra lines into the geometry here, but still models just fine. So when you pull that open on your side of things, may look a little bit cleaner than mine, but bear with me here. So what I want to take a look at is, kind of a way to approach, different applications with the ID solution. So in this ballroom, I had put together, here we've got our stage up front, couple of pesky columns to deal with. And then, how do we make sure that we're getting coverage to all these places? So I took a look, and I'll zoom in here at the ID84 with the low frequency extension with its companion sub next to it. We've got two ID24 lip fills on, or as front fills on the front of the stage, and then a couple of ID24s discreetly mounted to these columns just to help avoid the shadowing that can happen from the main speakers directly behind these columns. So let's take a look at the entire, let's take a look at the entire SPL coverage as a whole and see if we can get kind of a grasp on what we're trying to do in this space. So as you can see, NS1 software, renders this out pretty cleanly. You're going to notice a lot of coloring. I also have a feature inside of here turned on called shadowing. Shadowing enables me to see where those columns actually are interfering with the coverage versus if I turn that off and rerun the model, it's going to get a bit cleaner, and we're not going to see as much bounce back off of those column surfaces, if that makes sense. So what I did here is, in what might be a small ballroom application, is I put the ID84 with its low frequency companion on the floor stand with the sub just freestanding on the floor next to it. And so if I double click on the ID84 here, it pulls open a handy window that's actually going to show me what the speaker is doing in the vertical. So as you saw from the video, the ID84 is really Nexo's first dive into the column loudspeaker realm of things. And, taking the ID speaker technology into the column was really a natural fit because of just the sheer amount of high quality SPL we were able to get out of the ID24, which is the 2-driver version of this speaker line. And how do we actually scale it up to meet a need, right? Column loudspeakers can be really great problem solvers where, maybe they need to be more discreet than a traditional line array. Maybe you don't have the ceiling height for it. Maybe you just need it to be more portable, right? We don't want to have to fly these things in portable lifts. So how can we, get some great SPL throw, some great directivity without, the traditional line array approach? Thus born the ID84. So as you can see here, it's going to show me my full cluster design with the narrow dispersion pattern of the ID84. The ID84L always follows the same dispersion pattern as the ID84 because it doesn't have any HF drivers. So as you can see here, we're getting pretty great, throw throughout the room from this ID84. This is a pretty deep room, 90 feet deep from the stage area to the very back. But again, when we're looking at something portable and trying to, get an event set up quick and rolling, what are our best options? So being able to, plop down a floor stand and these ID84 speakers are a great problem solver. I'm actually going to just, because of how well they model, I'm actually going to just solo one of these real quick for you guys. So the ID84 is 100 degrees wide in the horizontal, and again, has that adjustable HF directivity in the vertical of -10 and -25 degrees. In this case, I'm running it in narrow because I want it to throw absolutely as high or as far as possible. And you could see too where the speaker is actually trimmed out height wise because it's on that ID84L on top of that base plate is actually right at the listening height that we want it to, just to shoot right over people's heads, get that -10 degree down tilt, and we get a really great coverage. So we're talking 102 dB SPL. This is looking at a 2 kilohertz to 8 kilohertz average, which in the Nexo world, I see this little MIF, make it flat. This is used to best model the frequencies found in speech intelligibility. So being able to understand speech from microphone through the system, the frequencies that our ears really tend to grab. So that 2K to 8K is going to be a really good starting point for that. We can flip over to DBA if we wanted to, and we'll see a nice jump in SPL there because this speaker does go down to 90 hertz. And yeah, you could see there now we've got an average of 31 hertz to 16 kilohertz all the way to the back of the room. And we jumped up to 108 dB A-weighted there. So again, looking at the system from a comprehensive, cohesive standpoint, the ID84, even left, right, isn't going to be quite enough to fill this space, especially with those columns. So want to jump over to one of these ID14 speakers. So the ID14 is one of my favorite speakers just because of how good it is as a problem solver. So as you can see, when I open this guy up, I've got my 2 coverage patterns that I could select, the 100 by 100 standard, conical pattern, or that 140 by 90. 140 by 90 is extremely useful if you're going to use this as like a complementary front fill, which, one of the things that I want to make sure we cover is that in Nexo's entire breadth of speakers, from our P plus to our GOM to our STM line arrays, Nexo strives really, really hard to keep all of those speakers be able to play nice, including all the subwoofers as well. So when you use a Nexo power controller with these speakers, the built-in presets are going to automatically ensure that they are all perfectly phase aligned when you use them. So that's where we can use a small ID speaker, throw it with a GOM line array, and get a full comprehensive Nexo system that sounds and performs at its absolute best. So 140 by 90 on an ID14 is a killer front fill on some smaller SPL applications. You can see too the presets available for high pass at 120 and 150 hertz there. So in this application, I stuck with the 100 by 100 because I just kind of want to, provide directivity behind that column. And if I solo one of these guys, you can see how they perform. And I want to make sure, yeah, we'll just leave it on DBA, but you can see just the sheer dB that's outputting. This is only about 8 feet off the ground or so, 7 feet off the ground. Just trying to simulate a more portable environment in this application scenario. Maybe this wouldn't actually be mounted on the column. Maybe it would be on a pole in front of it, right? Because mounting can get cumbersome, especially if you have to take it down at the end of an event. But you can see there it's providing me up to 99 dB of extra direct coverage that participants may be shaded from from being behind this column. And then kind of same scenario going on with this ID24 speaker up front. So many of you are familiar with the concept of front fills. The ID24 is another one of those just problem solver speakers. It has an incredible output for its size, which you saw earlier on the specs that David shared. But one of the even more important things to note about the ID24 is just the sheer amount of flexibility it has in those HF directivity options. So as you see here in a front fill scenario, I'm using this as 120 degrees horizontal by 60-degree vertical to just cover as much space as possible. And then we'll see here after I'm done sharing a little bit of this, some of our complementing accessories or brackets that are used in this lineup. One being a ground stack accessory. When using these in a front fill application, you can actually get a little bit of up tilt if you've got a really low stage, or even down tilt if you've got a really high stage. So again, the ID24 has a little bit lower operating range than the ID14, going down to 95 hertz if you want it to. But in this application, I high pass them quite a bit higher just because as far as front fills go, we don't need a lot of LF bacon out of those guys. So let's take a look at the subwoofer in this application, because I do want to jump over to another one here quick. But this is the IDS 312. This is the new companion subwoofer that came out with ID84. And you saw that cool quick connect technology, really, really awesome. But what happens if you do need to use an ID84 with an ID84L? You know, you put the subwoofer beside it, behind it, anywhere else. You could tight pack them under the stage in the center, and then set your crossover accordingly. So extremely high output subwoofers. Those three 12-inch long excursion neodymium drivers they're incredibly rigid and enable just such a tight sub sound. I'm really excited for these to get out in the market for everybody to hear them. But man, you're talking in a 90 by 75 room, we've got 6 12-inch drivers, focused down beneath 100 hertz. We can really get some stuff bumping in a system like this. So I'm just going to turn these on so you guys can see what we have there. I'm going to go to basically an LF average is 32 hertz to 125 hertz. And we'll look at just the subwoofers. Do want to make a plug while I'm pulling this up. Nexo does offer quite often Audioversity trainings. Audioversity is Yamaha's full lineup of online training, sometimes in-person training for both the Yamaha Pro Audio, commercial audio, and the Nexo lineup. So there are specific trainings for the Nexo NS1 software offered virtually. So you could check those out on nexo-sa.com. So yeah, jumping over, looking at subwoofers. Obviously, with a left-right subwoofer scenario, we are going to get, a lot of this lobing going on. But hey, it's a portable application. So we're going to put the speakers where they make the most sense for a lot of different scenarios. We could tight pack them under the stage, but maybe that stage is solid. Maybe it's not a stage at all. Maybe they're going to stand on the floor. So that being said, sheer output wise, 108 dB, right at the sub all the way, back to, we're still getting about 90 dB there at the back of the room. So really cool application using, all of the Nexo ID series. And again, we could look at this in 100 different scenarios, pairing them with, the P+, the GOM, or the STM line array systems as well. So want to jump over to another scenario. Maybe any of you have ever set up a sound system for a wedding banquet hall. I know I have. I've actually DJ'd many weddings in my day, but man, I sure would have loved to have some Nexo ID series to pull off an event like this. So this system that I put together, this wedding venue is about 80 feet by 50 feet roughly. You can see here at the top, we've got our head table, we've got our dance floor, DJ, and then tables spread out left, right. What makes the most sense to cover this and not be obtrusive? We don't want to block the dance floor from any of the tables. We also don't want to put speakers right next to the head table and absolutely just blast the bride's ears, because let's be real, this day is about her. But how do we make sure we're providing, all of the quality sound possible? So this is ID24s stacked on 2 of the IDS 110s. The IDS 110 is one of the speakers we haven't looked at yet in NS1, but it is our single 10-inch subwoofer as part of this series. And one of the things I love about this sub is that Nexo actually does have a cardioid preset for it. So stacking these subs one on top of another, we can actually put these subs into cardioid mode, run one front facing, one rear facing, and have a nice cancellation and additional directivity towards the front of the subwoofer. So really cool that you can get that out of a portable 10-inch sub by using, Nexo's proprietary technology inside of our amplifiers. So, obviously looking at this scenario, the ID24, when it's, pole mounted on top of a sub, or even just freestand pole mounting over here as a fill speaker, it's not going to throw like a line array, because it's not a line array. But, from a portable standpoint, what do we get when we turn something like this on? And you could see here, we're getting still some serious decibels out of there, 105 dB, 2K to 8K. I want to make sure I've got all those speakers turned on. I do. So yeah, we're still getting, really pretty good coverage across there, directivity wise. Again, there may be, case in point for a fill speaker over in the corners, kind of at your discretion. But again, in terms of portable, discrete speakers to be able to pump out that kind of dB, that's really where ID wins. So what I want to do now is, let's say, okay, maybe this isn't quite what we're looking for in this wedding venue. Well, what else do we have? What else can we pull from inventory? What else do we have, at our disposal in the ID series? And so you guessed it. Let's take a look at the new ID84. So similar to the last application, I just kind of love the ID84 paired with that low frequency extension cabinet because of the directivity control that it offers. You can see that here. Now we're talking, throw throughout the space. That's looking pretty darn good at 50 feet of throw for a single column loudspeaker. And then using the ID24 is still mounted on the poles out to the side, but creating a nice, keeping things tight packed, not too tight packed, because we don't want too much interference between them, but also now we don't have to worry about a big timing issue. So if you're dropping this system, deploying it fast, this is a great problem solver. So turning this guy on and seeing what we get. Yeah, now you could see where those 2 column loudspeakers are converging really nicely. Man, that dance floor is going to be bumping. 108 dB at 2K to 8K. If I bump this to dBA so that we can get those subwoofers involved in what we're looking at here. Yeah, 114 out of those subs down there, 111 all over the dance floor, and everybody else is feeling real happy as well on the outside. So again, ID series as a portable problem solver is pretty incredible. So let's jump over and take a look at maybe more of an installation scenario. This model that you're looking at is just, simulated to be what might be a typical lecture hall. Maybe those of you who attended university or high school had a lecture hall that looked like this. You're like, man, I couldn't hear the professor to save my life. The video speakers, they just use the overhead projector speakers. So yeah, pretty much missed everything. Well, if you're not doing online classes and you get back in a scenario like this, boy, wouldn't you be lucky to have premium audio experience like ID84 in this setting. So you could see here, this is actually where I flipped the ID84 to broad mode. So again, broad mode is that minus 25 vertical coverage, where narrow is that 10. That 10 is going to throw better, and I'm actually going to even illustrate here, what that's going to do. Yeah, you can see it kind of direct up. You could see this like dark orange kind of gets past the wall. Even our back wall is about there. And if I drop that back down to broad, now I'm getting, picking up those front, first couple of steps, and then I'm still getting that dark orange all the way to the back of the room. So again, the power of that column loudspeaker. Let's just, for kicks and giggles, take a look at if we dropped that low frequency element and start to see what the different directivity looks like. Yeah, so not a ton of change there. This might just because we are, only about 30 feet out. And if I go back to it, yeah, a little bit of directivity change. Again, it may help if I wasn't looking at just dBA there. And then you can see, just for also kicks and giggles, if we wanted to, take this guy to, this is 2 ID84s with 2 ID84Ls. You can see just the absolute laser beam that guy is throwing out to plus 60 feet, it's still that 108 dB right on axis. So column loudspeakers at their finest. But going back to go back to this scenario, this is where I love ID84's discreteness. So take a look at this here. We don't have any speakers in the way of projection, sight lines, professor sight lines, that sort of thing. And if we turn it on and actually look at the kind of coverage we're getting, man, that's pretty outstanding. Again, this is full dBA, so maybe a little bit overkill if this is just a lecture hall, but maybe this is where rehearsals for performing arts event is happening. So again, a lot of power inside of these ID speakers. I'm going to move a little bit quicker into this last one just so we have time here for questions at the end. But you heard me mention before, ID series is really that problem solver, that Swiss Army knife. What you're looking at here is one of the AFC systems that's been designed. And again, AFC is our immersive audio technology. AFC Enhance being more manipulative acoustics, AFC Image being object-based panning. Be sure to check those out on the Yamaha website and look for more news on those coming soon. But as you see here, we've got an absolute plethora of ID14 speakers actually paired with our P Plus speakers here. This is where we're actually using these ID14s as both kind of a surround sound feel, but also in an AFC enhanced system where we're actually manipulating the acoustic properties of this room by taking in sound from the room and manipulating it and bringing it back into, playing it back into the room to give it a different acoustic sound signature. So just taking a look at the sheer amount of speakers inside of this guy. Remember, the ID14 is 5 inches by 5 inches by 5 inches, tiny little speaker with 116 dB of output. So if you need to stick a tiny speaker somewhere really discreet, but still get output that of like a theater where you're trying to create a really immersive experience like this, look no further than the ID series for sure. So I'm going to toss it back over to you, David. I didn't see any questions come in, but yeah, let's toss back over here.
Yeah, so Wes did kind of mention, obviously talking about rigging solutions, right? And I think that's something Aaron and I talked about a little bit earlier and kind of touching base on. I was actually going to share my screen here real quick again. So when you look at the ID series as a whole, I mean, there is a ton of rigging applications for this. So you can see, they're easy to wall mount. There are M6 inserts on multiple sides of this, specifically the ID14. There's U brackets for all of them. You can actually mount an ID14 to an IDS 108 and still use that and still use a U bracket to be able to mount that as well. Pole mount applications. Wes talked about the typical stage front fill bracket. There is a stage front fill bracket for ID14 and 24. But looking at, like ID84, so, an install system, there actually is a wall mount bracket. There's also a rigging bumper if it needs to be suspended from the ceiling. Pole mount solutions here, you can see here on this slide that you can actually, it attaches directly to the back of the ID84, then that slides down on top of a pole that is on a weighted base. And then if you're going to do, which Wes showed, the L unit below the standard ID84 cabinet, you have that bracket that would attach at the base as well. Something too that I think Nexo's thought through a lot, and again, this is going to be pretty standard across the entire lineup of ID series, but there is a rigging clamp, so to be able to put that onto truss or something like that, great for under balcony applications, right? You can actually see on this that there is on the far left hand side that can actually mount directly to like the under balcony by just removing the clamp on that bracket. And then I think one of the slickest things here is the wall mount bracket. Allows you quite a bit of articulation. So if you do that in a vertical format, you can actually do 30 degrees of downward tilt. You do have a lot of play side to side as well. So again, again, not only do you have directivity in the horn patterns that are available and being able to swap that right there on site, you can also do it via that wall mount bracket as well. So. Aaron, have any questions come in or?
Not seeing anything right now from the attendees. So again, feel free to use the Q&A function to submit any questions you have. But one thing I do think we would like to touch on is, obviously when we're talking about being compact and being flexible with the ID series, it's not just about the boxes themselves, it's also about the power and processing. So I wonder if we could take a quick look at the options Nexo has for amplification and processing, or just talk over those real quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, I'll share my screen. Wes, you're really good on this stuff, but Wes, I don't know if you want to go ahead and take that.
Yeah, so you heard me mention a little bit before the Nexo amplifiers. So this is the digital TD controller lineup of Nexo amplifiers. There's actually 3 models: the NX Amp 4x1, the NX Amp 4x2, and the NX Amp 4x4. So full DSP processing inside of these with Nexo's proprietary presets, including all phase alignment, timing alignment, and FIR filter settings built into those presets, and then your capability to time align and EQ and zone and group speakers inside of that amplifier as needed. But what you're seeing in this slide is that really one of the even more exciting things about ID series is that most of the speakers in the ID lineup, meaning the 14 and the 24, are actually 16 ohm speakers, which if you're used to calculating that sort of things, mean you could put a lot of these speakers on a single amp channel, which then equates to being you being able to put even more of these speakers on a single amplifier. So up to 4 of those per channel that you're seeing there with the 24 and the 14, and then so you could have 16 speakers on one single amplifier, which is pretty impressive. We could go even higher than that if we wanted to, because you can run the NX amps down to 2 ohm load, so you could do up to 8 if you had the higher wattage version NX amplifier. But just the example we have here, even pairing subwoofers on a channel, really powerful stuff. And David, I don't know if there's a slide in here for the control piece of this, but
no, I actually forgot to put that in, but yeah, that's a great thing to actually touch base on.
Yeah, no worries. So Nexo, our full control software called Nemo, for those of you who are used to controlling your amplifiers, via network, you can do that on the Nexo side of things. It is an OS X software available on the Apple App Store. You can also control these via Windows using Avitran's AVS monitor. But again, you can do all of your system alignment, calibration, tuning right inside of the software. And then the other beautiful thing about Nemo is that it's also an iOS app. So you can put it on your iPhone, you can put it on an iPad, and make it really accessible. While I'm talking about iPads, you kind of saw on David's last slide there, a little square on an iPad called Provisionaire. Provisionaire is actually Yamaha's free programmable user interface for any of our networked audio products. So from our commercial installation DSPs and speakers, all the way to our powered loudspeakers, to Nexo amplifiers, to CL consoles, you can make Provisionaire user interfaces for it. So that includes the Nexo amplifier. So again, just a lot of power in those controllers for sure. And again, those same three controllers are used across the entire Nexo lineup, from ID series, which we looked at today, being our less power hungry speakers, just based on their sheer size, all the way up to our modular arrays in STM. So yeah.
Yeah, and the great thing actually too about Provisionaire is it's a very, very just very customizable software. I mean, you can create scenes and things like that. So, when it comes to ease of use for the user, right, the end user that might not be a very in-depth audio person, being able to control inputs and, muting those things, turning the volume up and down on a microphone that is driving these Nexo systems, that's a great thing. And again, that's where Yamaha and Nexo have come together, and to kind of bring this back full circle, right? Come back to bring forth comprehensive, cohesive solutions, right? From input to output. So.
That's great. And while we do have just a few minutes left, David, you had that slide earlier where you had kind of a look at kind of the full Nexo lineup. And obviously today we were focused fully on the ID series. Like you said, I think it was the far left-hand side of that slide. But I wonder if anyone here who's not familiar with the full Nexo lineup, if we could do kind of the 10,000 foot view and kind of get a better idea of where the ID series fits in compared to some of the other series. And, maybe if they're seeing this today and they're saying, that looks cool, but it's not quite what I'm looking for my next project, maybe we can kind of just give them the quick teaser.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously, ID series is going to be at the lower end of the price point of really what Nexo has to offer. But, Nexo is scalable all the way up to, full-blown multi-module rigs here, which you see all the way on the far right-hand side. So we have the STM. We also then have the Geo M series. So there's a 6, a 10, and a 12-inch two-way box with companion subs. Our P Plus series, which is going to be a coaxial point source box. So we do, we can cover you from a 4-inch driver all the way up to what Wes, I don't know if you want to talk about the upper end and like STM, but.
Yeah. So just real quick overview. STM stands for scale through modularity. And as you see on that far right array system, looks like 3 arrays shoved together, right? But actually what it's being done there is 2 single 12-inch bass elements with the M46 cabinet, which is 4 6.5-inch drivers with 4 high compression drivers on top of that inside of it. So now you've got a full 3-way system with 2 by 12 by 4 by 6.5 and 4 by 3-inch drivers built into that array, and then the single 18-inch sub. So again, scaling or being modular through that all together, STM has a lot of power. The Omni module, which is our dual 8-inch, is that second from the right there, just as powerful as the main STM elements, but again, kind of gives you that more omni approach where maybe you're not trying to do a double or a triple column. But working our way down to the GOM line, like David said, that's really where we're seeing a lot of medium scale applications. So our GOM 12, which was just released back in 2019, is a single 12-inch line array capable of 138 dB SPL peak. It's got all that patented technology we kind of talked about really briefly at the beginning. That's built throughout the entire GOM system. So 10-inch and the 6-inch version there. I do a lot of designing for house of worship and performing art centers and theaters with those very systems. They work great in both touring applications and installation solutions. And then obviously you see those paired subwoofers. Nexo's got from 12-inch from 8-inch all the way up to a dual 18, which isn't shown here on this slide. So yeah, like David has said, coverage for just about every need. And like I mentioned, in my portion with the modeling is all of these systems work together and sound just like each other and that's on purpose, right? Because we want to scale that same Nexo sound, which is to best, replicate what's happening on stage throughout whatever venue you're designing for, whether it's an installation or a portable application.
Correct. Thanks, Wes.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, I think that's for today. So Wes and David, thanks again for sharing your time with us today. We really appreciate it. For our attendees, if you have any questions that come up, any clarification that you need, please feel free to reach out to us at sales@tcfurlong.com. And, if we don't know the answer ourselves, we have access to Wes and David and a whole bunch of other smart people that we can definitely get you in touch with. So with that, please stay tuned. We do have more events we're planning for the future. Like I said earlier, keep an eye out on our social media streams. Keep an eye on your email. We'll always keep everyone updated on that. Thanks again for joining us. David, Wes, thanks again. You guys have a great day. And we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Aaron. It's always a pleasure.